90%, well, maybe not 90%, more like 50% of the guys that I fish against are very confident in going out there and not practicing. You know, that's a given. But, you know, when you get into like your everyday anglers, you get to a totally different ball game. I mean, I would say 75 to 90% of the guys, you know, really depend on their practice, and they've got to have that
That's
confidence.
a big percentage.
And it just comes from more time on the water and seeing different situations and getting that confidence to make changes on the fly.
Wow. So the more I think about this conversation, you know, are you the type of person, so when you are in the moment of fishing the moment, if we want to call it that, and just, are you more of an area guy where you just want to settle down in an area, put the trolling motor down, go fishing and use different baits as whatever in front of you? Or do you like to go from spot to spot, maybe shallow to deep, in between, in and out, until you kind of get a clue and then run more with it? What's your approach when you're actually pulling this off?
I find my better success when I can find one particular piece of cover, or, you know, whether it be the bushes on the points. I'll use that as an example for here. You know, I felt like if I was fishing just a line of bushes, everything was random. But I could replicate bites anywhere there was a point, whether it be, you know, a flat bank that had a little jot out of bushes, or whether it be, you know, the opening to a cove or a creek. Anywhere there was a point, it created a stopping point for the fish, and I could replicate my bites that way. So I like to find something, a pattern that I can run all over the lake versus an area, because an area you can fish out, you know, in a 4-day event. This is a 3-day event in the Classic, but you know, a normal elite event, you can fish an area out in 4 days and you can run out of fish. If you can figure out a pattern, way better than scenario.
So you are more of a pattern fisherman. You'd rather take a pattern over just an area.
Any day of the week, a pattern wins tournaments. An area, you run out of fishing tournament.
Now, we're talking multi-day events, 3-4 days, right?
Right.
That's the language you're speaking, right? Because an area can win a 1-day.
Absolutely,
derby,
area
right?
can win a 1-day derby. I'm talking a multi-day event, which is, you know, what I'm used to fishing.
Man, that is some great insight, you know, and to be able to pull this off. You're what, mid-30s right now, early 30s?
Yeah, 33.
33. So Drew's still young. Ken Duke was over here. He would say that you hit your prime around 40, in your early 40s,
well,
as a Bassmaster Pro.
I hope so.
You got better years ahead. So as you develop, how do you think, because we all want to be better. We are all constantly talking about how we can get better decision making, and you know, time on the water is everything. So that's not the answer I'm looking for, is more time on the water. You live on the water basically. But how do you think you develop more of your tournament style from your practice to the decisions that you make, so that you get yourself more into that successful mode? Because that great practice, it's always lurking.
It is.
Because you're a good fisherman and you can figure out the moment in the practice. Well, could it be the wrong moment? Sometimes, and sometimes not. Is there a thought process behind that?
I really think, and this is a prime example this week, I think you can have a great practice at the wrong time. You know, we started practice 7 days before the first day of the event.
Oh, for the Classic.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a unique event.
So you almost are shooting yourself in the foot by figuring it out then. And you know, this is a unique event. An elite event, we'll practice the 3 days leading up to the tournament, and not much is going to change, you know, relatively speaking. But this event, you almost got to go at it differently. You've got to practice looking for information and gathering information, and it's about how you practice. If you can master how you practice and how you spend your 3 days and not put too much emphasis and focus on figuring out what is going on then, but project what will be happening down the road and look ahead, look for, look at those weather forecasts, look at if it's going to be in the, you're practicing in the highs in the 80s, lows in the 60s, but for 4 days, we're going to have, you know, highs in the 90s, lows in the 80s at night. You know that water temperature is going to rise significantly. You know that that shallow bite is going to be going away. And I'm preaching to myself right now. I'm thinking, yeah, I should have took that into consideration for this classic practice. Had I done that, I might not be here today, and I might have still been fishing. And that's, you know, the stuff I'm constantly learning. You know, there's nothing out there in this sport that can't be learned. Even when you're talking about an angler that's in your prime, like you talk about in their 40s and 50s, they're still learning.
And the information Bass University provides isn't your basic run-of-the-mill fishing video. This is specific information from A to Z to help you learn, get to the water, and become a better angler quickly.